we're not broken anywhere after that, and I can hit start stream on Rumble, and we are good to go there. All right, so how does our live link look? Our live broke. Our live link broke.
You are not live
Yeah.
anymore?
No, it's just it broke the link and we're live under a different link now.
We are.
Yeah. That's my bad.
So what's the link? So I corrected the post.
Um well, I'd have to send you the new one, man, which is now. Yeah, and we went back in under the same. I mean, I found you in the studio, so how is it not the same? That's a bummer. Sorry, guys, you're going to have to migrate over. I hope that's pretty easy. It looked like we already had a few in there. Let's pull up the chat and see if we've got a few joining us.
Send them the. Well, they shouldn't be there, and the chat shouldn't be there because in YouTube
Yeah,
it's ended. It just ended.
yeah, it just ended. Man, I blew that up. So, is this live? This is live. Yeah, so copy this link. Yeah, okay. We can deal with all the technicalities of that later.
Yeah, this happened to us before. So
Welcome, guys. Thank you for joining us. Welcome, Rumble, X, YouTube, Facebook. Sorry about the broken link at the beginning. That was all operator error over here. Ricardo and I were messing around and talking, and yeah. So apologies, guys. I'm trying to everywhere I put the link. Um, I'm trying to give you guys the proper one instead. So apologies everybody for the migration that had to occur. And we can't really go edit on anywhere else, can we?
I think I can still edit my post. The new link is the one that you put it on the place on Discord.
Yeah, I just threw in the new link. Okay. I'm going to go back under the post and in the comments, just put new link. And I mean, I'm live there as it is, so it doesn't really matter.
I can't edit.
Right. Well, I'm going to delete that. And we're going to get rocking and rolling here, guys. We had to fix a snafu. We're nowhere near perfect, as any of you who actually join us know. And we totally blew out the studio session that we were supposed to be in. Therefore, the link no longer works. So we recorded 22 seconds, which that's probably an all-time record, Ricardo,
New record.
For a fuck up. I mean, that was fast. That was.
I think we should go to the what is
So
the what is those records? What is they called? The Guinness records, because
right.
22 seconds might be the shortest streaming podcast ever. So,
Okay, so I'm just gonna say new link on that X post you put up, and there we go. I think that covers everybody. Everywhere else, we should be live. And Rumble, let us know if you're coming at us from there. Um, just because I want to know if it's worth the extra steps to get this show to you guys. So this is not the only apology I owe tonight, though. I know, hey, Amy, WC. Amy Wicked Current, thank you for showing up for a little DeSoto time. Sarah, aren't you? Yeah, I do. I should have my volume control. Don't tempt me to look for it though, because oh yeah, that's right. Did you find it? I mean, they got it. Oh, they got it. Yeah, Sarah put in a ticket and caused a ruckus, um, and got a technical issue fixed.
Oh.
Yeah, here she is. Enjoy the volume control of your media board.
I can't access any of that. This time I'm the one without control. So
You are, you are. So, oh, and I forgot to adjust. Well, I guess our names are proper size. So we solved all the technical details. Back to my list of apologies. So this is the first episode out this week, and the week sort of took on its own life, and I've been busy. I didn't even, last night I had to sleep on a broken futon in the garage. It's been busy, a house full of full of people. But it is wonderful. Whatever. We had people that we know that needed a place for a little while, and they had animals. And while the animals were a pleasure, dude, they had a cat that was leash trained. Have you ever heard of such? It blew my mind. And the animals were so sweet. But Jacob, bless him, was so excited by it all that he wasn't gonna sleep. No matter where you put him. So he and I was like, it's finally at like 12 or whatever it was, 11:30. I was like, all right, we'll be out in the garage. Yeah. So, but I've had a busy week is all where I'm going, guys. So that's my second apology is I aimed for 3 of these a week, but we're going to get them where we can because I also did a podcast with Dave. And then to our point today, Ricardo and I have been dedicating a good bit of time to reading this version of the DeSoto Chronicles version translation from 1935. And we've been enjoying it, I think, man. If you have, I know it seems like you have been. I have been. And what I've really been enjoying is just the glimpses we're getting of the native population, and what then your brilliant observations, like Ortiz, and the gold and what that meant about poor Juan Ortiz and how he kicked off the whole the gold lust thing that was encountered here. Or just what we are able to tweeze out of this narrative, this chronicler's narrative, about what was going on here with the native people in our back and forth. All in which I think adds up to not only an enjoyable but a learning experience. That's why I'm liking it. So everybody that has not seen that, us do that on The Shaman and the Philosopher, go find our YouTube page, The Shaman and the Philosopher, and you'll see more about my buddy here. You see next to me, Ricardo Calvario. I advertised Logan as joining us, and he might. He's napping in the hammock, and he started a full-time job at the Piggly Wiggly. And they got him over there in the deli, and Logan, as he audience, you remember Logan's last appearance, he started talking to us about the Waffle House and learning to cook, and so I'm sure they got a hold of his culinary skills, and now he is the favorite horse to ride in the Montgomery Piggly Wiggly delicatessen. So which is all good if you're going to be in the Matrix system. They are going to give you overtime. So he's happy with his experience at the moment, but it's left him dead tired. And so, while audience, he was truly stoked about doing it this time, and he was ready to, get over the microphone fear he evidenced last time. I couldn't wake the poor boy up. It's like one of my own kids. And so when I know he's exhausted, I did give him a kick, just a mild push in the hammock to set it a swinging and get the peepers cracked, just enough to go, hey, man, you said you want to do it. Yeah, okay. Well, if you wake up and you wonder where I'm at, come say hello.
he will appear stumbling behind you,
Exactly.
putting all the artifacts in the floor.
He's very cute. He's got his Piggly Wiggly hat on, too. I think he probably just put it on out of habit when he woke up this morning coming over here. Because I've never seen. I was looking at him, and he had his hair tucked up under the hat too, and I have never seen that. His hair's long, and I was just going, I bet that's out of habit at this point. He's just kind of rolling with it. But it worked because we had to go to a mechanic in Montgomery, and uh-oh. Recording in progress. Thank y'all. We had where was I? We had to go to a mechanic.
Light the thing that says on the air.
Yeah, I wish, bro. I wish. Wish. This is just one end of the dining room, man. You get what you get, I wish. However, where was I going? We had to go to a mechanic in Montgomery, and it was a very old dude, man. He'd probably been in this very, very, very old traditional man. If anybody's ever seen Sanford and Son, about where I showed up today at this mechanic, and the buildings around him burnt down, and he'd been in business long before they'd burnt down. And dilapidated, but I think between you've got my appearance showing up in places like that, and then you've got Logan with his Piggly Wiggly hat on, which is a much beloved local, kind of country establishment. It probably helped in our endeavors navigating all that earlier today. Anyhow, that is your story on why we're letting Logan continue to nap if he so wishes. I was not teasing that fact. But Ricardo and I, if we get down to brass tacks, Ricardo, say hello, because I'm so used to being on your show.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
I know we're always talking, but there might be, I fucking doubt it, but there might be somebody that's seen something of mine that hasn't seen me with you. So please introduce yourself at the beginning and tell folks what you're doing and why you're here and where they can find you if they like you.
My name is Daffy Duck. I really hate Bugs Bunny. And that's another show. Sorry. I'm me.
We can do Duck. We can do Duck. I know I can't do them, but Ricardo's the one that introduced himself as Bugs Bunny, okay, and Daffy Duck. So I was trying to recall it. You see what good children are? They're just they build you up. They make you feel stronger and confident to keep doing what you're doing. Come in here and say hey. This is Ricardo's first time on my show, and you're ruining him intro.
Oh no! Say it's a lie.
She's making sushi. She says she loves you. She's sorry.
No.
It's the audience we got to worry about. Now they just know I don't know how to. No, I'm kidding. Isn't that perfect?
I'm sorry that she's making sushi. But
exactly
my
what you
daughter
want.
is the same.
That's they know I kid, because that is exactly. I don't know what parent doesn't want that relationship. That's
so. Do you have a buy me a coffee or something, or Patreon? People can help you, and so that can help you buy either a little bit of electricity or some gas, so you don't have to eat raw fish.
Hey, Ricardo says that because you're eating raw fish, it means we're broke. So he asked if we needed any donations. I take it you don't like sushi.
I don't like the mercury in the fish, that's for sure.
Well, what do you think they do? Cook the mercury out? I mean,
I
guess they do.
It disappears in
the
because
water
of
room temperature.
Yeah.
Well, she doesn't actually eat raw fish. It's the already cooked imitation crab. And then she makes like a California roll type deal and loads it down with all the sauces. But she's very much into the process. She enjoys it, the doing. She makes her own rice, you know what I mean?
My daughters are the same. They come here and start doing it. So, because, they like Oriental stuff, right? One is flying now from China at this moment. Will arrive at my 6 a.m.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, but I will only see it on Sunday.
But still, you get to see her. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I couldn't get to her at the airport, so my brother-in-law is going to get her. Then she's going to stay with her twin sister. They're going out tomorrow, and then tomorrow. What today is this? What day is this?
It's Friday for me. I think it's
Friday. Friday.
Yeah.
So this is Friday. I had a Lebowski moment. What day is this?
What day is it, man? A job, sir. Do you have a job? Are you employed? What?
What?
What day is this, man? Is this a? Is
Do
this
you
a
come
weekday?
out and dressed like that on a weekday? Is this a what day is this?
Oh, here we go. There'll
So
be no
yes.
more aggression, man. This aggression will not stand.
Let's stand.
There's a whole
They're
lot
gonna
of
kill their poor woman.
there's a whole lot of factors here you're not considering. You know,
I can get you a toe, man. I can get you a toe.
seriously, if you need a toe. Shut the fuck
There's
up,
ways,
Donnie.
man. There's
Shut up,
ways.
Donnie. Poor Donnie, man. What
Heart
was
attack.
that character about, right?
He's the
I mean,
character
you know,
that everybody says, "Shut the fuck up."
everybody says shut the fuck up, and he's just being earnest in himself. And then even at his funeral, they go scatter his ashes and right back in, everybody's
His
faces.
face.
I know.
Walter.
Not now. Your phone's ringing, dude. Walter. Dude, your phone's ringing. Not now, Walter. Your phone's ringing. Thank you, Donnie. You're so nice to Donnie.
Moving from limousines. Hey, there's a beverage here, man.
Oh, Lord. Bag of my whites. Okay, so as far as cultural jumps go from the Big Lebowski to the Soda Chronicles, you,
Almost the
however,
same thing.
were interrupted by my lovely and comically timed and attuned daughter, who is quite skilled on stage herself. Your introduction. Oh, there she goes again. What'd you say? You certainly are. See, that's not sushi. Show. Put it to the camera. That's you took sushi ingredients and then started in a bowl.
Yeah, looks good.
It's called a sushi bowl.
And what's in the sushi bowl?
We'll have to get her to do like her own cooking show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's time for another Martha Stewart.
Love you too, baby. Holler if you need anything. Okay. Did you tell everybody you wanted to about where you are and stuff before you started insulting me, asking if they could donate?
It's like that family, really, really at the lowest possible. But to keep appearances, we're eating sushi because they couldn't cook the food, and we are beef tartare.
She's no,
Steak
she's just
tartare
got-
for you, yeah.
Steak tartare. There you are. Or beef tartare. Yeah, raw. Well, I don't know if you can't afford food. Is heat really the problem? I mean, you can start a fire, but I'd say acquiring the beef would be the monetary issue. My favorite way to cook a steak is over an open flame on the sandbar with nobody else around.
But then you need wood, and for wood you need trees.
Well,
Where are you
yeah.
going to find trees around you? You live in a
Dead-
desert.
Dead wood. I don't live in a desert. I live in the Amazon of the North America. But it just dies for a few months every year. So, there's dead wood everywhere. So,
Hey, dude, why do you missing your left hand? Well, the thing that I grabbed wasn't a log.
no, man, you got to worry about that. You got to use your eyes, and use your feet and walk, with intention, and anything that is natural has a preservation instinct far better than most humans I know. And they do their thing, they go hide and they skedaddle. That's all. It's just, it's a practiced thing, right? One has to spend a lot of time with not wanting to be bit by a snake in places where snakes frequent, in order for one to sort of pick up the wisdom that is, you got to figure out how to operate where you don't have to constantly think about it,
Yeah, but so many snakes. What are they eating?
No, Rue, we're not quite on DeSoto yet. We were just doing our little hellos and warm-ups.
And snakes. Hello, sushi and snakes.
But
so
we
far.
have DeSoto ready and warmed up. Yes, my daughters photobombed us and proved us both inadequate at our comedic attempts, with her lovely appearance and her admonition to the father to not do imitations or impressions, which I can't. It's solid advice, I guess. You do any impressions, Ricardo?
No,
None?
no.
When I
I,
was,
I,
go ahead.
I, even when I used to sing, I never did impressions.
Even when you sang,
Yeah, I used to.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
For what purposes?
Oh, it started in my church, and then move on. Then karaoke's came up, and
You can do karaoke?
oh, not now. No,
Oh, I see.
I don't sing anymore. I made a promise.
Oh,
I made a
you
promise, so I don't sing anymore.
to who may I ask? If without revealing any, or may I say, was it to yourself?
To myself, yes.
Yeah.
I had to
Okay.
trade something that I love dearly, and I chose the singing.
Okay.
It's not permanent, though. I feel that one day I will, I will have the freedom of it being achieved, and so I can use my voice again. Not is that good, but it's something that I enjoy doing.
Okay. You're talking about a wager.
No, it's not a wager. It's I'm the only person involved. There's nothing else exterior. There's no objective exterior of myself. It's just me.
Okay. I'm intrigued now. You know I want to keep asking questions, right?
You will fail.
Okay. But I was too intrigued not to at least address the elephant in the room there.
It's nothing related to money and power or
Because I want you to
success
sing.
in this or success in that. Well, I have quite high hopes that you will one day. But
Yes.
if I do at this point, it will be betray the purpose of it little by little, and that it's that precious. So
Gotcha. That's why I came straight up front with I want to go forward because I didn't even want to pick at it if it was not appropriate. So yeah, thanks for letting me tackle that head on. But here's my intention, is not curiosity or anything, like just blatant like that. My intention is because I would like to hear you sing because if you love it, I'm sure you're incredible at it. And
uh,
I love music, right? Like music is, man, next to like the real things, like perhaps my children, my dog, my family, right? But outside of the realm of like real things, if you asked me to pick something to give up, music would be like the last thing most likely that I would try to hold on to, right? It's very, very important to me. Now, having said that, my daughter Isabella just as you see, she'll be honest, and she'll be the first to tell you that I for some reason I can't really translate that too well into singing, right? I can hold notes, I can find a certain talk singing sort of place, that I can pull stuff off, but I can't really just let it go and sing like the way I kind of taught myself to do with my body, like so I was like I want to dance, and it just boom started coming out of me right when I'm alone, at least. But
I can't dance.
yeah, see, I'm
I
kind of like
just
that way
can't.
with singing, I guess. Then I'm not saying I'm good at it, but I could never really get myself to just let loose and dance. You know what I mean? To the music, to the beat, to the whatever was sort of inspiring it. So I wanted to be able to achieve that, at a
So
minimum for
can
consciousness purposes.
imagine the most ridiculous thing that you could witness, right? And then you have to go beyond it, and you're still not there if I'm trying to dance. So
I
I
beg
don't
I
dance.
beg to differ. I will make you a video of me when I get in the mood later on, and it might give you courage. Um, You'll be like, look at how much fun he's having, and look what a dope he is. So it might give you confidence to try when you're alone. Is all I did, and I realized just how precisely freeing it was for my body. And then I learned, of course, as any of the ancients or indigenous might tell us it once your body is loose in something like that, your mind and consciousness level is also loosened up for other things, such as a higher tuned consciousness. So there's that too, but it all starts with the fact that sometimes, man, just doing it, I knew innately it would be fun. Like, you always watch people that just dance and you're like, man, they're having so much fun. Like, what
Yeah.
is that? And so I just knew that it would be, but I could never get myself to do it. And then one day alone, it was like just a switch flipped. And I was like, okay, see, I knew that shit was awesome and I knew I could do it. I'm not sure I'll show anybody, but
Let's just put it on YouTube.
right. But if it gets Ricardo to sing again, I would most happily send you a video. Shit, I'll put one on here if it gets you to sing.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, although I can't dance,
Yeah.
fencing has a lot of movement that's almost like dancing. And in fencing,
See,
I
true.
have no problem.
See, to me, fencing, yeah, it is definitely. I mean, dude, that is dancing, and that's even a more. Well, it's very controlled, though, isn't it?
Well, the fencing that I practice is called, or well, I don't have a partner now, but
Hey,
it's,
Jake Wells, Jacqueline, what's going on there?
hi Jacqueline, it's called La Destreza, which means La Dexterity, right? And it's done on a circle. It's not back and forward. Back and forward is just the Olympic stuff. It's just stupid. It's not fencing. No one fences like that in real life. You don't go back and forward as if you couldn't move to the sides. So um, in La Destreza, you are constantly moving. You can't stop and you can't leave the circle. So it's a constant. It's almost like a dance. But dancing, no. But I think we should go into DeSoto before we.
Fine, get me off my interest of things that we did not know about Ricardo and have to change. No, I'm kidding. But it is. Thank you for revealing to me, and with all joking aside, that
Okay, it's
you
true. I used to be a girl.
that at one point you did sing well, right? Fencing is a little feminine, when you watch it. It does. It's. I don't know if that's even true. I'm just messing with you.
Well,
But what I
maybe.
do know is true. I didn't know that you sang, and that is.
Oh,
I.
that was 20 years ago, man. That was 20 years
But
ago.
still, look, my
And I
father.
was always with people that with bands, right? I grew up with people creating bands since I was
See.
like 17, 18, garage bands, and people that went really from that into one of my friends from that time is now a musician in Brazil. He has albums, and Michael had fantastic music, good
Look,
voice,
do
but
you
he
see
never
my
published
shirt?
anything.
I mean, even it's about a contest, I mean, a concert, right? So for a guy, bro, who music means so much to, and who also fancies himself in some kind of way a bit of an artist, or at least, has artist traits. My father was a painter. He hasn't painted in a very, very long time, but he was an excellent oil painter, right? Knowing these things about somebody gives one an identification, at the sort
You
of
mean
soul
an
level.
artist, not a painter of houses.
Right, like I've often wondered, man. Like I'm just sitting there thinking about Ricardo, and it's like, man, he's so damn into things that should be artistic, but and he's always so technical with his output. And so I've just wondered, like, what's his artistic thing. And so to have that answered is nice about my friend. That's all I really mean. It's just nice to know that you had a thing like that you love, and now in private, I'll continue to berate you about whatever reason you're not singing for, and I'll get you to sing again, and we'll move on to DeSoto. I know I won't, man. But thank you very much for telling me that. And thank you, everyone in the chat, as we get on to reading, because I'll be focused on the page, for joining us. Thank you very much, Ricardo, for popping over here today. Guys that have been following us, we're just going to keep moving along. We assigned ourselves a fat task here that I think is beneficial for many, many, many reasons, but it really goes to the heart of some of my motivations with what I do, which is bringing to the forefront the truth of the native and indigenous population that was in this part of the world, i.e., North America as a whole, although we could extend that to really all indigenous populations when it comes to what precisely we know about how they lived and what occurred. So, in that effort, we're going to pick up our readings with what happened to Lieutenant General on going to seize a chief. So, just to give everybody a quick catch up, Ricardo, and correct me if I'm wrong anywhere, we're still very close to the landing at the Bay of Espiritu Santo, right? We're not far inland, but we are inland. We've had quite extensive dealings or learnings about some native chiefs, Mukoko, Ixauluulu, I forget totally how to say that one. The gentleman who Navarrez cut his nose off and fed his mother to the dogs in front of him. And we've seen how the native encounters thus far have all been very colored by the former expedition of Navarrez and his treatment of the natives. But as far as this goes, that was all the backstory for a gentleman named Juan Ortiz. Juan Ortiz, for the DeSoto expedition, becomes quite important. He becomes the translator. You know, he's very makes much of the expedition possible. So he was an important figure. So this chronicler gave us, a very complete backstory on him, through which we just waded. And I think we just pulled ourselves out of talking about, last time we talked about Mukoko's mother.
Yeah, and we must congratulate the people that passed the story at the time, because they managed to go from please do run while we point arrows at you, and now let us roast you, and, and now let us kill you again, with he found lots of gold.
Yeah.
So that's why we don't trust oral tradition, right? And that's why we I don't know, the world that it's not native um, doesn't believe in oral tradition. They don't understand how oral tradition can respect the story through generation to generation, and the story is always the same, right? Because in there you have, in 10 years, what was torment and suffering and toil
10 years with the two
was gold. You had gold everywhere, right? So,
Right. So what Ricardo is referring to, guys, is after Juan Ortiz was captive for 10 years total, 8.5 of that with a what seemed to be excellent guy that treated him, almost as an equal, although he was, kept as his man, whatever you want to call it. But he became quite part of the tribe and was treated great, right, for the most part.
with
The first
Mukoko,
year with Mukoko, the first year he was tortured by Ixaula, the gentleman who had his nose cut off and his mother fed to the dogs by Navarrez. And then when the Spanish, before they landed, when Hernando de Soto's expedition was in Cuba, La Habana, as they word it here, they heard, or they had captured 4 natives. And as they're interrogating them there in La Habana, the natives don't remember Juan's first name. They just remember Ortiz. So in their attempts to start telling this story about this Spaniard, right, who was adrift over there in their land, when the Spaniards heard the native version of Ortiz, they all heard gold, right? Because that's somehow, translated at the time like Oritiz or something. So right from the get-go, when they were hearing a story about a gentleman of theirs who had been through great trials and tribulations, who they should be really after helping, and who also would have been, of course, a great translator, what they heard instead was, oh, there's gold in this land. We knew we were right. Ha ha, let's go. Ah.
but let's be said, De Soto has been behaving very well so far.
Yes, so far. You do have to read through the narrators, I mean, they have, through the narrators, reverence for the national hero, probably at this point, right? That is Hernando de Soto. And I mean, these guys are in Portugal and Spain, So you do have to read through that a little bit, and that becomes obvious more than on. But yes, so far there's been no wanton mutilation.
It's
Um,
just you acknowledge my king as your king and me
right.
as a governor, and everything keeps as it is,
You
and all
you
is well.
agree, you agree to be my slave vassal state, and we're good.
The good.
Yeah,
Forget
pretty
about
much.
it.
Forget about it. Yeah. Now go convince your neighbors of the same. Otherwise, click click, crossbows, harquebuses. What happened to the lieutenant general on going to seize a Caraca? And this was just after the section titled "Setting into the Interior." So they were in Florida, moving inland.
I think they are 30 leagues in. I don't know how much a league is, but
That
I think
sounds
they
that
are
sounds about right.
about 30 leagues in.
A league that would be, I don't know. We'd have to look that up.
I can look that up.
Yeah, no worries. One day, while Hernando was in the town of, here's his name, Hirahigua, he received notice and certain information that the chief had taken refuge in a forest not far from the army. Okay, so this is the chief that they were going to go to next, and they're trying to sort of send emissaries to, and he's not having it. The Lieutenant General Vasco Porcalo de Figueroa, yeah, Figueroa, no S, being a man so warlike and desirous of honor, wished to go for him in order to enjoy the glory of having brought him in, willingly or otherwise, and it was of no avail for the governor to attempt to prevent his journey. Governor, everybody, if this is your first time listening, is one of the many ways they refer to Hernando. I stick with Hernando, but they call him the governor, the lieutenant, just no, I forget all of them, but you get my point. So I'm going to stick with Hernando because I find it to be the least respectful.
And I should say that I stand corrected because one league is 3 miles, so they are already 90 miles inland, which is a lot. So
Okay. Well, was it 30 or was it 13? Now do we need to
no,
correct that?
because it
Do you
was
remember it was 30?
1.5 league to the first camp, then it was 10 or 12 to the second, and then
Right.
they roomed 15 leagues to the other one on the road, on the open road, which shows how the length of these highways, right?
Right. How big they were, how
Yeah.
long they were. Okay, well, we'll roll with that, and if we're wrong, we'll leave it to the chat to
Yeah,
correct us.
sure.
Okay, rock and roll.
It's a lot, 90 miles. I'm thinking it's too much to. They did it in 2 days. Remember, the distance.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That's crazy. That would have to be a big road. That would have to
They
be a road. There's no other
they
way.
took 2 days to come from the third village.
You want me to back up? Throughout the 25 leagues, there you go. Yeah, 25. So not quite 90 miles, but you're still close. Throughout the 25 leagues that Balthazar.
75 miles.
Now, would this been at the time? Would this have been what they meant in 1540?
Yeah, that's a league.
Okay.
I will.
And his
confirm that.
companions, yeah, okay. Well, that is quite the ways. They found many trees like those of Spain, when they're talking about the muscadines. Yeah, okay. And that was just him and his mountain men out scouting. And now they come back to DeSoto, who is still with Hirahigua near the landing point of Espiritu Santo, as they named it. Okay, so this fella wants to go. He desired to go himself, and thus he named the cavalry and infantry that he thought well to take with him, and set out from camp with great ostentation and greater hopes of bringing as a prisoner or making a friend of the chief Hirahigua. Oh, so they're going after Hirahigua. The latter, since he knew through his spies that the lieutenant general and many Castilians were coming to the place where he was, sent them a messenger, saying that he begged them not to proceed further, for he was in a secure place where they could not reach him, however much they might try, because of the many bad crossings of streams, swamps, and forests that intervened. He therefore enjoined and begged them to return before some misfortune occur, if they should enter some place from which they could not get out. He gave them this warning not out of fear that they would take him, but as a recompense and service for the kindness and favor they had done him in not having inflicted the harm and damage they could have done to his country and his vassals. The chief Hirahigwa sent this message so many times that the messengers almost overtook one another. But the faster they came, the more the lieutenant general desired to pass on, believing the contrary, and persuaded that it was fear on the part of the chief, and not courtesy or any matter of friendship. Welcome, TP3173. Thanks for joining us in the read-through. I need to swallow a little water, and I'm going to get a nicotine pouch, too. Sarah, are you back from Daytona? Oh, I probably shouldn't just say things like that. Sitting here just talking to my friends, and they may not want anybody to know anything about Daytona. That's a speedway there, and somebody popular
That's what
died.
I thought, the raceway.
Yeah. You can drive on the beach there. I know that. I used to go to Daytona.
Okay, this is getting more and more complicated.
The leagues.
Yeah.
As you go
So
back.
the Spanish league in the 15th century was the same as the Arabic mile for land. So they have the Legua Nautica, which means the nautical league, and the league by grade. The league geographical was only starting after 1630.
Okay.
So I think that report precedes that, right?
Yes, this is, I mean, you're going to be 1540, right?
Okay. So
Is the time of the expedition, anyhow.
So one league is about 2 kilometers, right? Or 6,444 feet. One league.
Wow. So it doubles it.
I don't know how much that is. I'm trying to see now how much is feet to miles. So 6,000 feet is 6,000. Oh, maybe. Okay. 6,444. How do you read this? 6,000 or 6.4?
6 comma
Yeah.
444. That's 6,444.
It's not 6 miles, 440, 6,000, no, 6.444 feet. I don't know how to read this.
Not with a comma, man. With a decimal point, it would be.
No.
1.5 miles is what someone, TP3173, just chunked out there for us.
It's 6,4444. I'll write exactly the same here, and I think computer will know. Okay, it's from foot to mile, feet.
I'm going to keep reading.
Okay, it's
Interrupt
1.2
anytime.
miles. 1.2
1.2
miles.
miles. Okay. Okay. So 25 leagues would then be
55, 56, 57 miles.
No. Doesn't matter, but no.
No.
1.2 times
1.2, it's 30 something.
Yeah, exactly.
35, yeah.
Right. Okay.
35
Sweet.
miles. Yeah, that's more like it. 35
Perfecto.
miles.
Thank you very much, Ricardo. You got us there.
Yeah. Very confusingly, but I did.
Well, it's kind of like these chronicles. They get a bit, they do themselves. It's
Yeah,
kinda-
but your question saved
get
it because
confusing.
was the league the same back then?
Right. It's
And
true.
I found like 10 of them.
Thank you, bro. I knew Mr. Researcher here would, as one of his many qualities, along with singing, apparently, would handle
Yeah,
that
yeah.
for us.
Let, let's
Yeah.
let's let it
Yeah,
rest.
you're an impeccable researcher who apparently can also sing while doing it, but refuses to.
Mm.
What can I say? Okay, I'll let it rest. Vasco. All right, let's get back to our guys running through swamps and forests. They're trying to get warned, but they still want to go get Hirahigwa. Everyone were. Everyone. That can't be right. Yes, everyone raised. I was like, everyone were with him. That is not even in the right tense, man. What are you? Who is this dude? Should we be reading him on air? Like, that's not right. No, everyone raised difficulties. Jason's just getting old. On the outside. Everyone, Benjamin Buttons on the inside, raised difficulties about crossing it, yet Vasco Porcalo insisted that they enter it. And in order to inspire them by his example, for as an experienced soldier, which he was, he knew that there were no better way for a captain to be obeyed in difficulties than to go ahead of his soldiers, though this was rashness. He spurred his horse and entered the swamp with a rush. No, man. And many others came in after him. But after the lieutenant general had taken a few steps, his horse fell with him, and both were about to drown. For those on foot could not swim out to reach him quickly and aid him because of the slime and the mud. They would have sunk in the mire if they had walked.
The
And those
armor
on
might have played a part in
exactly,
that too,
exactly, dude, and the beast itself.
but
I
he,
mean,
he was dumb enough to go with the
just
horse through
charge.
a
Yeah.
swamp.
Well, he was thinking water. He was thinking water.
He was not sinking.
He was not, you know, but he was thinking water. The only thing I can think is thinking shallow water.
Kill!
Yeah,
Kill!
often a swamp. Yeah, I've actually dived in swamps. I can tell you all about the experience. I've had to do it several times after the first time. The first was the most interesting and fear-inducing, and luckily had the deepest water I've experienced in a swamp too. It was pretty much deep enough for me to swim in. But as soon as it's not, it's about a foot of just the slimiest, ookiest stuff you could
Yeah,
ever
I know.
want to
I know.
like. Yeah. But these guys going through it with the horses, man, that's what I'm saying. You know, these roads were big because you try to go anywhere off them from here where they are up to here where I am. You know, you're going to run into some nasty, nasty territory. His horse entered the swamp with a rush. The others could not reach him, but after Lieutenant, okay. After Lieutenant General, okay, his horse fell. Vasco, Pocaya, okay, there we go, had sunk in the mire if they had walked, and those on horseback could not come to his assistance for the same reason. For all were equally in danger, except that Vasco Porcayo's was much greater, he being weighed down with arms and enveloped in the mud with one leg pinned beneath his horse. And so he was drowning without being able to help himself. Vasco Porcayo escaped from this danger more through divine mercy than through human
Did
assistance.
he?
And seeing, yeah, not these bastards, and seeing himself covered, only kept him going so they could get to
There's much
Mobilla.
evil for you to do still. Rise.
Right? No. Yeah, they weren't praying who they think they were. That's all I know. Divine mercy, then through human assistance, and seeing himself covered with mud, and with his hopes of taking the chief gone, and that the Indian, without coming out to fight with him in an armed encounter, had overcome him simply with messages sent through friendship. Being beaten and ashamed of himself, and full of grief and melancholy, he ordered his men to return. Inasmuch as to his anger at this misfortune was added the memory of his large possessions, and the ease and pleasure he had left behind in his house, and the fact that he was no longer young, and the larger part of his life was now past, that all or most of the hardships of that conquest were yet to come. such as those of that day, or even worse, and that he was under no obligation to incur them of his own accord, for those that he had passed through were sufficient. He thought it well to return to his house and to leave that expedition to the young men who were taking part in it. So, one swamp, and he's ready to go back to gold chalices and wine. He's had enough. So this is what happened to the few that weren't basically indentured servants, as we sort of established, early
And
on.
what's the name of that fellow again?
This is Vasco Porcayo, Procallo.
Procalho. Weird name.
These ideas went with him all the way. Sometimes he spoke of them to him. Oh, he didn't go back. These ideas went with him all the way. Sometimes he spoke of them to himself, and sometimes aloud, repeating in the names of the two chiefs. Here, he's cursing them as the expedition goes on. Repeating the names of Hirahigua and Uraburaukse continually, separating them into syllables and changing some of their letters so that what he wished to deduce from them would come out more clearly. He would say, Huri Hari Huri Higa Bura Koha, literally a lame she-ass, an insult of some impact.
Can you show me the page so I see the Spanish?
Bura Koha.
Okay, that means lame donkey, female donkey, lame.
Yeah. Yeah.
Burra is the female of the
Yeah,
donkey.
a lame she-ass. That's what it
Yeah,
says. An insult of some impact.
is
So
it?
he's so harassed. He's walking along by the memory. He's walking along the rest of the expedition, changing their names into insults.
It's
Oh my!
you remember that
Just because he sank in the swamp.
the dog from Wacky Races,
Lucky races.
Wacky Races.
Wacky races? No.
Yeah, never saw that that cartoon. So there's a dog every time things went wrong. It's like muscle. It's like that guy going on the horse and
I think
like
it's
cups
maybe
of
because
wine
we
and
grew up on different sides of the Atlantic. No, I don't remember that one.
well,
We
I
had
thought you've
some
seen it because
wacky
Jacqueline
races.
saw it in Canada, so you might have seen it there too. But it's American.
Yeah, we had our
It's
own
Hanna
wacky
Barbera. I
machines.
think it's Hanna Barbera. So
Is it? Okay, well then it must be somebody, and I'd have to look him up. It must be somebody from North. Do the voice again.
of the dog,
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I know it.
when he's upset, he's like
Muscle, muscle.
Was he yellow?
no, it's brown.
It's brown. Okay, do it again with me picturing the brown.
No, I won't do it again. You got me twice.
I did, didn't I? Okay. These ideas went with him. So let's go back to Huri Hari Huri Higa Bura Koha, literally a lame she-ass, an insult of some impact. Huri Hari, I consign to the devil the country where the first names that I heard in it, and all the rest are so vile and infamous, I hereby aver vota atal, literally, I swear to such, or a euphemism, that from such princes there cannot be expected good middles or ends, nor from such omens favorable events. Let him work who must in order to live or to gain honor. I have more than enough property and honor for my lifetime and even after it. With these words and other similar ones repeated many times, he reached the army and at once asked the governor's permission to return to the island of Cuba. The governor granted it with the same liberality and graciousness with which he had received his offer for the conquest. And along with the permission, he gave him the little galleon San Antone, in which he left. Vasco Porcayo, or do I say, you said it L. Porcayo, it doesn't matter. Porcayo divided among the gentlemen and soldiers as he saw fit the arms and horses and other equipment and household service of very fine and excellent quality which he had brought, being such a wealthy and noble personage. He ordered left for the use of the army all the provisions and ship stores he had brought from his house for himself and his family. He gave orders that a natural son of his, named Gomez Suarez de Figueroa, whom he had by an Indian woman in Cuba, should remain to accompany the governor on this expedition. Okay, Gomez is his kid by a native. Got it. The latter conducted himself throughout as a very excellent gentleman and soldier, a worthy son of such a father, serving very readily and on all occasions that offered, and after the Indians killed his horse, he always went on foot, not wishing to accept from the general or any other personage the loan or gift of a horse or any other present or favor, although he might be wounded and in great need.
He
It
was
seemed
not
to
stubborn
him,
at all.
yeah, I know him.
That's
Yeah,
Muttley.
yeah. I don't remember it being called Wacky Racers though, but I do remember that cartoon, and they raced, didn't they?
Yeah.
And
Wacky Races
they
is the
had
name.
crazy cars, yeah, sure did. Okay, youth triggered, and back to present. Well, it takes you back, doesn't it? Now I want to start. When we playing D&D, man, you're gonna be the game master. We're playing at my house, right? Tonight after school.
What is D&D?
Dungeons and Dragons. It's a role-playing game which you play in your imagination on a few sheets of paper with dice.
We
And
have
you go.
that in books.
It's like a video game on paper with dice, and
Well,
everything else is in
what I
your
did
head.
is with books. So you had the dice, and the dice with so you choose your character. You have a certain number of points,
Yes.
and then you have to decide: go left, go right, attack, hide, and
Yes.
then and when you fight, you throw the dice, and the dice decide if you manage
Yes.
to do it or not, and so on and so forth.
Yes. Yes. And people would draw maps, and you go in
Yeah.
dungeons, and they'd have a map of the dungeons, and yeah, that's it. Okay, so Vasco Porcayo is out of here, divided up what he had left. His son by a native stayed on, was great at what he did, and would not take help. But his nature was so strange and distant that he was never willing to accept anything from anyone. The report Balthazar de Gallego sent of what he had discovered. The things that we have told being concluded in a very brief time, Vasco de Porcayo embarked and took with him all the Spaniards, Indians, and Negroes whom he had brought for his own service. The impressions that he left with the whole army was not of cowardice, for it did not enter into his nature, but of his inconstancy. Just as when he offered himself for the conquest of the island of Cuba, he had left the impression of excessive ambition, through abandoning his house, property, and ease for new things without any necessity for them. Always in serious matters, the decisions made imprudently and without consultation with friends are apt to give rise to desperate repentance, with evil and injury and much dishonor for him who acts so. If this gentleman had reflected before he left his house upon that which he reflected when he was returning to it, he would not have been censured as he was, nor he himself troubled by the belittling and loss of his reputation and waste of his property, which he could have employed in this expedition with more prudence and better counsel, and with more credit and honor to himself. But who can subdue a wild beast, or give counsel to the free and powerful, confident of themselves, and persuaded that in proportion to worldly treasures they have those of the Spirit, and that the same advantage that fortune gave them over other men in the property, that the latter do not gain? What is this guy going on about? On the day following, we're going to skip ahead. On the day following the departure of Vasco Porcayo, I see he's trying to fit little, he's doing his little narrative thing, trying to give
He's,
lessons
he's,
we
he's
can
filling
learn
the
from.
300 pages. He knows what he's
Yeah,
doing.
yeah, he knows what he's doing. A little lesson learned from these people. And, you know, it was wont that these people were, whatever, there was still a caste system, you know, in place at this time, right? And, you know, you're writing about a gentleman and you're not a gentleman, you're just a writer. I imagine you probably have to load it with a couple of sentences of how great they, you know, I don't know. Whatever. With the reports, the governor ordered on the day following the departure of Mr. Porcayo, the cowardly gentleman, there arrived at the army the 4 horsemen whom Balthazar de Gallegos sent with a report of what he had seen and heard of the lands they had traversed.
Okay, but
They,
now they're calling him coward.
no, that was me. I figured you would understand that as
Oh,
a.
okay, okay, okay. Sorry.
Sorry, that was a. I guess I got to work on my
Well, it's
irony
better.
tone.
It's better to be a coward than a killer. So.
I'll start saying "fucking coward," and then you'll know that's what I added. Okay. So after Porcayo, where were we, man? You're learning. You're interrupting me, but you're learning. I can find my place, I guess. So this is all. They reported. Okay, so they went into the lands they had seen and heard. They reported very fully and much to the satisfaction of the Spaniards, because everything they said was favorable to their pretension and conquest, with one exception. They said that in front of the town of Uribarauxe, there was an extremely large swamp, very difficult to pass. Everyone was joyful at the good news, and with regard to the swamp, they replied that God had given man ingenuity and skill to overcome and pass through the difficulties that arose before him. Yes, Amy, wasn't he, though? Quite the author is quite the philosopher, as is my partner here. Um, with this report, Hernando ordered a proclamation issued to the effect that preparations be made to march at the end of 3 days. He also ordered that Gonzalo Silvestri, with 20 more cavalry, return to advise Balthazar de Gallegos that the army would follow him on the 4th day. Since Hernando had to go away from the town of Ique, it was necessary to leave a presidio and garrison to defend and guard the arms, provisions, and munitions belonging to the army, for he had brought large quantities of all these things, many of which sit behind me, melted and ruined, because that's where this type venture gets ya. Okay. Since the governor left the town of here and guardian to defend brought large quantities of all these things, and also in order that the caravel and the 2 brigantines that were in the bay should not be abandoned. He therefore named Captain Pedro Calderon to remain as land and sea commander, in charge of everything pertaining to both that remained. For their defense and protection, he left 40 lancers, 80 infantrymen, exclusive of the sailors on the 3 vessels, with orders that they remain in the place, not moving to any other until he should send them new orders, and that they should always endeavor to keep peace with the Indians of the vicinity, and on no account to commit hostilities, even though they might suffer many affronts from them, and in particular that they were to regale and maintain all friendly relations with Mukoko. So I think that tells us, well, not only, I mean, he's leaving all his stuff behind, right? So that's why he's so adamant that they maintain friendly relations, because he's having to leave so much of the expedition stuff behind to go see what they can do about this swamp. What's up, gentlemen? Good to see you. Drink UP. Is that so? That's going to be. Is that Isaac? Or is that Jeff? I don't know. Up north, right? Because he does his other show, Drink Up, you know, with, have you ever watched it? It's fun. What's good evening, either of you? Good to see you too.
And by the way, I tried to say it several times, but I forgot. So before I forgot again,
I don't forget
I,
again.
I just want to congratulate uh, Sarah and Jacqueline for
We're gonna plug that. Thank you for bringing it up. But I'd planned on bringing up the post itself and talk about what we're going to do. We're going to do the UU crew next
No,
week.
I meant the 300 subscribers.
Oh, let's see, you're talking about the birthday and the 300 all at once. But
Yeah.
yes, congratulations on 300 subscribers. I only have 110 or so to go to catch you, but well earned and well deserved. You're not going to find more earnest individuals on the thing we call the internet out here trying to produce content that adds to the whole of human knowledge, and they're doing it of their own accord, their own volition, managing both all of their personal trials, tribulations, and blessings at the same time. So please continue to help them grow well past this 300 number, because what they bring to the world is much needed by the world at this very moment.
Amen.
This order given, you like that? I gave an order and it lined up with the reading. I like when that happens. Coincidence takes planning.
Planning.
This order given with Captain Pedro Calderon observed like a, I don't know why, but whenever I see that name, like I want to do it like, did you ever see Hateful Eight? Did you ever see the new Hateful Eight? Like the Quentin Tarantino did a Hateful Eight, and he himself played the Mexican in there, and he has his hat on, the big beard, and his accent was terrible, like on purpose, Anyway. Calderon observed like no, that's okay, like a good captain and soldier. The governor
Seemed like Banderas.
that's where I was going for. Antonio Banderas. Hello, it is Antonio Banderas. Calderon observed like a good captain and soldier. The governor, Hernando, left the bay of Espiritu Santo and the town of Hirahigua, and marched towards that of Mukoko, which he sighted on the morning of the third day of his march. Mukoko, who knew of his coming, went out to receive him with many tears and regrets at his departure, and begged him to remain that day in his town. Not desiring to bother him with so many people, Hernando told him that it was more convenient for him to go on because he had each day's march set. He commended him to God and assigned him as vassals the captain and soldiers who remained in the town of Irahigua. Thanking him anew for what he had done for him, his army, and Juan Ortiz, he embraced him with much tenderness and signs of great affection, which the goodness of this famous Indian merited. The latter kissed the Hernando's hands with many tears, though he tried to keep them back, and among other expressions he used to show his grief at his absence. He said that he could not tell which had been greater, his satisfaction at having known him and acknowledged him as Lord, or his sorrow at seeing him leave without being able to follow his lordship, whom he begged as a last favor to remember him. I wonder. Having taken leave of the general, he spoke to the rest of the captains and principal gentlemen, and told them in fitting terms of the sorrow and solitude in which they were leaving him, and desired that the sun direct and prosper them in all their actions. With this, the good Mukoko stopped, and the governor proceeded on his journey to the town of Uribara-Uxe without anything worthy of note occurring on the road. From the bay of Espiritu Santo to the pueblo of Uribara-Uxe, they traveled always to the northeast, heading inland to the northeast from the Gulf side of the Florida Peninsula. Those are my words. That is, toward the north, bearing a little in the direction of the sunrise. With regard to this direction and all the rest, this is important, that are stated in this history, it is to be noted that they are not to be taken as literally correct, in order that I may not be blamed if something else should prove to be true in the future when that country shall be won, God willing. So, writing this, early on. Although I made every possible effort to set them down with certainty, I was unable to do so. because, as the chief purpose of these Castilians was to conquer the land and seek gold and silver, they gave no attention to anything except gold and silver. Therefore, they failed to do other things more important to them than making out the confines of the land. And this is sufficient to excuse me for not having written with the certainty that I have wished and that was necessary. What do you think about that, Ricardo?
I think they didn't find much gold and silver either. So they didn't do anything besides destroying.
I think it's noteworthy that, as you pointed out, from the get go, that even this gentleman is having to apologize to the future for the fact that they were not even doing the normal procedural parts of being on an expedition, such as have somebody assigned to taking note, of proper land conditions and somebody taking note of how
Surveying.
far.
There would be surveying.
There would be somebody assigned, normally. So that I think gives us a lot about we see this, instead of the narrative that presents this exploratory, expedition, that was the conquistadors' expeditions into these countries. I think what we're left here with a much more, when we're reading these current to them accounts, we're getting the image much more of like a fireball, an alien thing raging in here with all its might and force, with some singular goals ahead of it, particularly material, silver and gold. And I think that is what colors everything else that
Yeah,
happens.
but that is closer to Viking than it is to conquer land. Because when you conquer land, you first
Yes,
conquer the land, you first secure the land, you inhabit the land, and then you look for its resources,
it's true.
right? This is not conquering, this is pillaging.
No, it's not even successful governorship. Like you hear in here, often they call Hernando the governor.
The
Okay,
governor.
that's because, in order for him to fulfill his mission, he was supposed to establish a community, a governorship for Spain, right? New Spain or whatever.
He's governor of the bitch.
Right, but you can't do that if you're just charging for gold. So was he so leveraged? I mean, we've already heard this expedition described as the best, most prominently and best outfitted to ever take an expedition in the New World, right? So what had he done to achieve that? Was he? We know he was personally leveraged, but what else had he done in order to get all these people with him? And
I think the fact that it was the best military outfit, including its equipment, ammunition, and so forth, um, it failed completely in bringing people to the town because you can't put soldiers acting like town citizens. You need them all.
Well, they were to secure, a place and start the process of setting it up. Was sort of the
But they
goal,
didn't
right?
took any what do you call we call them clones. I don't know how to say it in
Coordinates,
no the people that colonized the land.
colonists. No, no.
Colonists. They didn't bring any colonists. So who is going to make a town?
Well, they
Where
have to. I guess the idea is they're going to set it up. They're going to build the walls. They're going to at least find the land for it to happen on. Which again, you
it's
would
all
expect a
swamp.
different. Well, it is here, and there's a lot of it around here that's in the swamp. Right around the river.
Yeah, but if they make the city like 50 leagues away from the coast, then it's too far away from the coast to be what it intends to be, like a harbor to that
Right.
portion of the country.
Right. Yeah, he's obviously chasing wealth, I mean, they were not successful in any part of the expedition, right? Like none of it. I mean, they escaped down to Mexico. A couple of them trickled out, what was it? Three? I forget how many years later. By the skin of their teeth, as they say. Um, Yeah, he was not successful in any way, and he was obviously driven by gold. And what's it's it's part of the reason Mobilla, what they've been looking for. When you look at the maps of people trying to reconstruct this route, it's just like this gentleman says. It's very hard to try to reconstruct the route from that angle. But we see at Mobilla, and then even directly after it, we see Hernando. His decision making process is a very interesting thing to start to try to read into, man, because that's why I'm asking here, or what can we see if how is he leveraged? Because he starts making decisions such as burning all of his stuff, right? Once he realized he'd been kind of hoodwinked, right? And then after that, there were, supposedly he was expected to be supply ships down in the Gulf somewhere, at the mouth of the Mississippi, which is, as you see the way they cover land, not many days at all downriver. I mean, a few days tops, me floating in a boat, now myself, right? He decides to turn north and to keep things going after he burned all the stuff in Mobilla. And this decision making process just seems to be that of a man possessed of something, right? There's something driving him that is.
Well, it's the failure. He needs to try and solve his failure. Where are the gold? Where is the silver?
Right.
Right. So he's trying desperately to control the man by its failure, because the man without goods are not going to be satisfied after a while, right? And the Indians were
Right.
not giving them any easy time. And he's pushing all of that desperately, like to achieve his goal, because like the other guy, he's not young anymore,
Right.
right? He knows he's probably on his last expedition. He knows of many other expeditions that fail completely under the same circumstances, that is not finding anything of worth.
Right.
Uh, so I think he's going north. He's desperately trying to get out of the swamps and trying to see if he finds more rocky land where he can find what actually he's looking for.
Which he does, he does certainly find more rocky land. He makes his way up into the southern Appalachians eventually, and then down through right here where I'm sitting. Before a few miles behind me is Mobilla, and then after that, it's just turned to go north, man. After you lose everything, and knowing resupply, he knew guys would mutiny, obviously, as soon as you got down to ships that could get their ass back home you know. Um, but yeah, just driven by that, and willing to employ every tactic necessary. As you see, we've seen him be fairly nice so far, but
He's
it
just at the beginning. He's hopeful. He's
yeah, when he gets desperate, it starts to get quite brutal.
yeah.
Quite things that any society would and should not tolerate. Certainly not one marching under any kind of a banner of Christian faith or something of
Yeah.
that
And,
regard.
and I'm curious to see if by the end of the chronicle we'll hear about any kind of PTSD amongst the soldiers, because
Mm,
I'm thinking that when you actually choose to do these things, endure the sea and then go to unknown land, and the Indians can be very brutal too, you are not being forced to go. It's not a national obligation to do so. You are going because you want to. So I think that reduces, by the character of this man, it reduces dramatically the PTSD, because they don't have, they're like psychopaths, all of them, right? They
yeah. Yeah, I mean, they
so
really are taking sex slaves in mass, from one
yeah,
village to the
it's
next, and
fear, adrenaline, sex, all of this mixed together, right?
uh,
And a
and
sense of ownership, and I'm superior to you because I have.
well, and after Mobilla, right, every single person got turned into a psychopath, right? After Mobilla, the order sent out from Hernando, they needed to rest here because while we'll get to the numbers, but there were some wounded, on their side, a few killed, right? And it was just a vicious 9-hour all day battle, right? So they needed to recover, but in order to do that, they wanted to feel safe after this. So the order was something like 30 miles. Well, now that you've done the math, we'll know more precisely, but something like 30 miles. They do a circle, right? And the orders are burn every town and kill every native that moves, right? Just no question, just do it so that we know we can sit here for a month and breathe. So what happens to a guy that spends weeks burning and killing everything he finds? I mean, that's a darkness that, I pray you nor anyone listening has to overcome. And
And
of the 1,000 men, there were again, we'll get to it, but something like 300 was all that comes out at the end in Mexico. Finally, finally, kind of stumbling and bumbling and
and
running
and,
their
and,
way.
and if he was alive, that guy Ira Ukwe would be.
Yeah,
I knew it.
yeah,
So
right. Right. They were going to be just like Navarez, and that's what we have to remember. And that is the tragic thing too about this whole story. And it's also, I think as we're starting to wrap up here, guys, we won't get back to reading because I usually like to keep these under an hour and a half. But I think we're starting to get this picture that I have had painted to me. I've got these pieces, Ricardo, that have obviously worked stone, and I don't know how good it is here, right? And they're trapped in some of this metal, and you can see where a few have fallen off, right? And I call them two cultures, one piece, because what to me intrigues me, and I also think is so important about what it is we can learn from this moving forward, is you see two exceptionally different ways of engaging with the world clash, like literally clash. You have these natives who do not, in fact, even quite understand the materialism of the Spaniards, right? It's so intense. It's something they don't recognize. The Spaniards do not recognize the behavior of these natives. They described them as terrible slaves because they didn't understand work and manual labor the way that the Western world did, because they wanted for nothing. They were occupying a system that operated in this three-dimensional realm so efficiently that they did not
they
understand
were a
these
member of the
materialistic.
community, not an individual.
Yes, yes, they did not understand these materialistic, drives that were so. By this mission, man, we're not even deep into this yet, and we've already had not only the author tell us directly, but also the circumstances and the behavior of the soldiers tell us directly that all they saw was wealth, gold, and success. And so you have just a perfect, I think, example in this story of what of those two polar opposites,
But
bumping into each other.
things could have been so different if Ira Ukwe, or
Could
whatever
they?
is his name, yes, if he actually has order to fire, to shoot fire arrows to those ships. This is a period where so many expeditions have failed that they couldn't assemble another one. It would be probably 50 years, 100 years, 150 years, right?
So if the
Until,
first chief had been in Tuscaloosa, then we might not have even had it. You're saying that's the best
yeah,
hope, huh?
yeah, it could have been completely different
It's
because
true.
he had the chance to fire, to set those ships on fire, and he didn't.
They would have come eventually, though. I mean, because if
There
that had
was no money
happened,
for that. There
they
was no
would have still
money.
believed there'd be still somebody that believed there was gold over here, and all you had to do was come kill people to get it.
I
Somebody
don't
would.
doubt it. I don't doubt it. But I think that the natives would have probably would be the worst because they would soften more because it's 50 years, 100 years without any invasion, right? Who knows? Or they might organize themselves. Let's not allow this to happen again. But the thing is, the Spanish court, Leon y Castilla, they couldn't afford this again. This
Right.
was a huge amount of money, and several of this brought no money back. So
DeSoto's life was on the line in many ways. Then,
yeah, many
yeah,
of them. So when if this has failed, probably it could have been 50, 100, or 150 years without any other boat appearing in the coast.
Yeah. It's true, and that would have been a magical thing, but we wouldn't be sitting in the world we're sitting in now, would we?
No.
And it seems to me that perhaps this story, which you and now I right now are engaged in reading, happened the way it happened, and all, so that perhaps we could confront it now in a world that we obviously see so very, very steep and deeply marinated within the materialistic view that has created nearly a matrix of the soul
Yeah.
in which we all find ourselves wandering and floundering. I think that perhaps in stories like this, in happenings like this, we have an excellent opportunity to reflect, and to try to see these things clearly and not from the perspective which we have been handed, which we know had motivations such as keeping this in this current quagmire which we all exist in.
True.
So, in many ways, I think this had to happen the way it happened. You know, as tragic and as awful, and all of the emotions will get carried through. And trust me, there are some deeply emotional sections of this tale we've embarked on, right? Despite all of that, I think it had to happen, and I think it's an important happening, and I think there's a reason that, I have found the place side of the battle, and that you and I, Ricardo, are here to maturely, while having a whole lot of
Yeah.
fun, because we like to examine this and start to pick apart what can be
But
learned
but
from it, and I
but
thank you for it.
this is the part that was intended. What was
Just,
done,
yeah,
it might not be exactly what they were hoping to have to do, but
yeah,
that's what they decided to do, was intended. What was not intended was the real problem. That is, after they leave, the disease that remains. So it's as much as in South America as in North, and that was what caused almost the culture to die away.
Now, I'm not educated enough on the topic. Perhaps you are. Had they, because at some point they did learn that biological warfare was a thing, and they would use it. I don't know if that was in South America, if that was this expedition. Yeah, I don't know when and that was.
Well, from the little I know, the first time they saw it,
The saying smallpox blankets or whatever,
they were still taking control of the land. I can't remember what Montezuma. So this is the story with Montezuma, and they were still taking control of the land when they started all falling sick and dying. So they knew they were the cause, and it's in the chronicles, right? But do they actually believe that it was them, or it's like a plague that God has sent their enemy, which was what lots of them were trying to imply at the time, that the good Lord was on their side because it was weakening their enemy as it did in old times in the Bible with pestilence and disease. I don't know. At certain point, it might be considered to be biological warfare, but to them was like a weapon of God. It's not seen as they are bringing the pestilence, but it's their God that is bringing the pestilence.
Perhaps they were some very deluded folks,
Yeah,
in their
absolutely. Anything
and
to justify their terrible acts. Anything.
seeing as how their acts betrayed the fact their God was what we would call the devil, I would say that in fact this was exactly what he would give them. So
The problem with
know them by their fruits, man, and believe them when they show you.
the problem with God is it's something that is beyond comprehension, right? No, let me go for this. It's beyond comprehension because
That part's
according to
correct.
God, even the evil deeds are not outside of its own creation. That nothing can be created, even by the dark forces, even by the devil or whoever it is trying to twist his song or his creation, cannot be new. They are all part of his intent. No one
It's a,
can
it's
create
a, it's
anything that
allowed.
it doesn't come from him to the final goal, right?
You can
So
see in Job, as you mentioned the other day, the idea of the tempter having to go before God and go, "Hey, let me test this
yeah,
fucker,"
but even that was created by God so that it be. That's the explanation why
Correct.
the devil was permitted to do so, because it was already on God's plans that it would be so. Because you
Right.
can't create anything that it's not already decreed by him, that comes from his creation, by his mind, which is very strange, because it's like, okay, this guy doesn't care much for the suffering, because oh, it's all going to be well in the end, right? So
Not entirely. That's more okay. So what you're describing is what many, I think, would describe as the word would be deistic, right? Many of our founding fathers sort of had this idea, right? And that's the idea that God, that reality as we know it, if you envision it as a music box, or a spinning top, right? That there is indeed a creator, but his creation he set in motion and sort of stood
back,
back,
yeah.
right? That would be the I believe called the deistic view of things. That differs greatly from my
My
own
shit is done.
personal
I'm going for a cup of
experience,
coffee.
right? What you say, though, is true about all being allowed, right? Now, when one wants to first, I guess, look at that, one first has to get a handle on how this place is not actual reality. This is not baseline reality if you believe in an eternal part of your nature. If you believe that your consciousness or your light body or your soul or the part of you that is not created, that does not seem to be a part of simply this three-dimensional realm, right? If you have any of those beliefs, okay, then essentially what that is saying to you, holding that belief, is that this is not baseline reality. This is not final reality, right?
but
Okay.
but I think most people, when they, you want to continue, go.
Well, I mean, you have to if you want me to try to say how to try to envision this, right, man? Okay, so in that sense, all of it is allowed, right? Well, then you're going to ask yourselves, okay, right, you're going to try to comprehend the incomprehensible God, and we're boiling it down here to little things we understand, like video games and simulations, or words people like to try to use to wrap their heads around this, right? Okay, but if currently we're being completely misguided, right? The things you and I are constantly fighting, Ricardo, are narratives. Be they narratives about our history, be they narratives in your study about energetic lines and parts of this reality which others don't take as a whole to be real, right? Okay, so you've got at some point, to try to put it short, Ricardo, ask yourself, what then would be the point of this place if it is not the baseline? If my eternal is here, what is that for, right? What is that for? Okay, well, if all of this, meaning the things we call the evil and the devil and all of this, right? If all of this is just a place, a place to experience things of a temporal, therefore non-eternal nature, right? Then actually, it's no different than when Ricardo, your kids, or my kids, or if you and I picked up a video game controller, right? And we started blasting people away, right? Now, that's a terrible thing. I don't suggest doing that. I don't enjoy first person shooter games, and I'm glad my kids didn't, right? But what harm is done to the person playing that game? Now, if there were rules such as come down to us through any traditions, karmic, if there were any sort of these rules that were set in place so that the person playing the game was supposed to actually experience, right, what was going on, then all of it, Ricardo, has value, right? All of the experience then has value. Just as you often have said to me, when experience is the goal, it's always a win, right? So, if from that higher perspective we then begin to see this place, we then begin as a whole to make very different choices. This leads me to Ricardo, to my theories about what perhaps we might be looking at when we're looking for a lost civilization, man. Right? Is when you have people that, like these natives, start seeing this place and interacting with realities that are both within and without us, right? That when you start leaning into that reality of this place, you're going to create and end up with something very different on total than what we currently are laboring under in this version of reality. And I think that's what happened to the last people. And then they went too far off and started getting all prideful and wearing their prosperity without moderation, right? Is the saying. And here you go. You've got to reset the game. Now, Ricardo, how do people learn? We all know how people learn. What makes people move? Pain, suffering, right? How do people make permanent changes in their actions? Well, I, as an addict, learned that there was pain, there was suffering. So if I truly had a goal that I wanted to create, right, a more wise human race, I wanted them to learn that if they would lean into the reason that this space exists and they would start treating it that way, then Ricardo, over time, you would have a much different reality to live in, right? So, is what we're seeing in the world are we being guided towards a chance to make different choices? To see that, in fact, when we don't lead into the spiritual realities that to God, we end up in the world that resembles a little more hell than it does anything one might call heaven. Yeah. So, yeah, that's what comes to me.
Well, I think I can.
See, for instance, if you
contradict almost everything that you said.
I know, that's why you and I are partners. But see, Ricardo, if you take, I don't know, man. What's a good analogy? Because see, at this point, when we start reaching these places, we got to have good analogies because words are fucking crazy. Okay, so let's go back to the kid playing that video game, right? Now, if that video game is open world, right, then any rules or modalities that are in place, the actual player then is going to experience, right? Is going to carry with him consequences of how he played that game. Yeah? And that's what you're really after. Anyway, I know you want to argue, and you can argue if you want.
Okay, so.
And if everybody in the game is trying to blow up the game or control the game, then you've got a pretty shitty game, right?
Yeah.
But if everybody in the game is trying to lean into the game, trying to understand the creator and why it is this game is played, and then create an environment that allows those objectives to move forward, then you have a much different looking game.
Well, the truth is, in a game that is an open world, you can either act as you act in the real world, or you can become a psychopath.
It's true. You can be
right.
Right.
So it's no different from our world. It's just exactly the same thing. Another point that I want to make is I understand that pain and suffering can lead to evolution, okay, can lead to experience, can lead to knowledge, can lead to wisdom, right? But I think that's a path that was forced on us because of the cause of that pain and suffering, because I think that we are made, and I'll get to that why I justify this, with the joy of learning, with the joy of experience, not necessarily with the pain, because you can also have exactly the same thing with the joy of the experience, right? You don't need the pain to learn if you have the joy to do it.
I
It's
did.
not. It's not. I'm not contradicting. I'm just saying
Of
that
course,
that
I'm
pain.
a stubborn fucker,
I
but
understand that it
I
is
did.
true, but that pain was brought to the world.
Right, because the goal, Ricardo, is to refine the soul and evolve
It's
the
to
soul.
take the joy away. But that now
It's
leaves
not to
me.
take the joy away, no, bro, because the joy, any joy that is found in this game is temporary because you come out of the game. We call it dying here, okay? You come out, that's the thing.
That's
Is
exactly the
the
same.
point is
We were
not
convinced. We were
because of current
convinced.
conditions of the game, the point cannot be joy. Because the current conditions of the game were by a bunch of players who decided they fucking knew better and they wanted to create some kind of way to keep all the players in the game enslaved. And from realizing that, in fact, you are your own player, this is just a game and you can do whatever you want. We need to figure out a way because we don't want that anymore. So a group of players got together and totally jacked the fucking system, right? And they hacked it, and
Okay.
now
Okay.
we are in it. So therefore, if we in the game want to do something about that, like Neo in the Matrix, right? What is it we do? I don't know.
Okay. There are many
I might have a
ways we
few
can.
ideas, but
Many ways we can look into this. But first,
unplug.
I want to say that the fact that we keep saying, and attention, I consider this to be a biosuit, not the real self. The real self
That's another way to say it.
is,
Yeah.
is just this is the
Avatar.
equipment. This is the equipment that allows me to experience this marvelous reality. Even with all its pains, it's a marvelous reality. A flower doesn't cease to be beautiful because some child is going hungry. Okay? So it is a beautiful place. I'm sorry if this phrase was shocking, but it's a reality.
Right.
It's just a crude and
Right.
cruel
No,
reality.
it is, dude.
It
I
is a
mean,
beautiful place.
Ricardo, I
So
just had in my home, very concrete examples of that. And
yeah.
you've got people that don't even have a home, man, or don't even know what they're gonna do. And yeah, it's constantly going on, and it is. If you're going to talk about root causes, it's because this entire system everyone labors under is just what I described. Somebody hacked in and decided they wanted to put a control mechanism in this place that has nothing to do with the original game whatsoever. They decided they wanted to run it. They want to
I
run the
think it's
server.
more like a hack, not the game itself. The game was not built to be as such if we consider it a game. But what I was meant to say is our current belief that everything is that we have a set number of years, that we are determined to go old, go sick and die, that we have no control on that part, has even now been shown by medicine itself as being a complete farce. Someone placed inhibitors on our constant regeneration. There is an inhibitor placed on
Yes.
our DNA
Yes,
that
and
stops our constant regeneration.
wouldn't any heartfelt steward do that? Because I want you to look right now, Ricardo, what's going on in this world and how we amplify pain. We amplify all the bad shit. Everything psychopaths get put in power. Right now, this system amplifies human suffering to the fucking impossible degree. What would happen, Ricardo, if we decided to just, well, let's let them live forever while we're at it too? We would have just created a permanent, eternal hell.
Look, what are humans?
So
What are humans?
what would we best do? We would best train the people if they're our pets, however you want to see it. We would best guide and train those people to what, Ricardo? To learn to not do that shit
To be
again.
slaves. Yeah, but the
No,
thing
not
is,
to be slaves, bro. Not to be slaves. Slaves to who?
to those that hack the system.
Oh, right now, yes, that's what they want. They want us all to be their slaves. They want us to be their slaves and their extraction mechanisms, meaning they do not see human life, right? They see you
Numbers in a
as
computer.
numbers in a computer, value. What can I get from you at every single point, right? Can I cause you cancer and then sell you the cancer medicine? Oh, look at that, I can. I just doubled your intrinsic value, right? To me. And that's who's running the system right now. That's who hacked it.
But the thing is, we are the gods. We are the gods.
We have within us.
There is no God above in that sense, because we are the gods and God is in everything.
So you don't think
We
there's
are
a
the
creator
gods.
to the game, to keep our analogy
No,
going?
I think there is a creator. I think there is a creator that is very far, far away. It's not omniscient, he's not omnipresent.
Right,
There is a creator, but it's very far, far away or dead.
right,
Somebody killed it,
right.
right? I think that we that don't belong in nature, we don't belong in nature. We are the only animal creature that doesn't belong in nature. We have no place in nature anywhere. We have to adapt to every single environment we are placed into.
But we adapt.
We adapt because we are
We're the only ones
intelligent,
that can.
right? So my point is, we are the gods. We have the capacity to create our reality. We are just being dumbed down for many of age into being this barely above a monkey that
This
are
is
even told you come from monkeys.
this is true, right? This is true. I totally agree with you. I mean, that part's
So
true.
how do you
That
fool
we've
a
been dumbed
god?
down.
How do you fool a god to tell him you have no power?
You
You
can't
keep
fool. You can't fool, right?
you can generation after
And
generation after
this
generation.
this system, man. See, it teaches us to hide from the creator, right? The creator is not dead. He has not gone anywhere. And my personal experience tells me that, in fact, there is something, bro, much outside of us, and that we have access to within us that
There
has
is.
powers in
I
this
don't doubt it.
place, which to
I
me
wouldn't call it
seem
God,
to
but there is.
exert complete and total control. Now, you can use whatever word for that best fits your lexicon, but it is the ultimate reality. Because if we go back to our game sort of talk, right, and we talk about a creator of that game, then the creator, if you're trying to look for a reality, is the baseline reality of that whole affair, right?
But my point is, if this, like in my I have a text that the title is "What is reality and does it matter?"
Okay.
Because if we focus on what or where we are not, we are losing our purpose here.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay.
And if you
Y-
don't have a purpose, you have the chance to create a purpose for yourself. You have that
Yes,
freedom of choice,
yes. Free
right?
will, free will.
You have that free will.
Free
And
will's
that's
a
the
motherfucker.
beauty. That's the beauty of the game. Who tells us that
Well,
we are not the remains of a civilization
then
that
you
is so
understand.
destroyed that they deposit all consciousness in this mega computer that is creating this reality constantly with the same lives coming back and back again and experience different sides of this because that's what I had to make it survive.
Ricardo, you understand that because the game is open world and because, as you said, free will, the most beautiful part, in order for that to exist, right, then the creator can't step in and feed everybody, right?
It's not his purpose.
It
That is
breaks the
not
game. The
that.
purpose is for the people, right, to lean into how the creator designed it.
Yeah,
What
but
happens then?
there is a
Everybody
hand.
gets fed.
But there is a hand
Everything.
from time to time. There is a hand that whoop, I won't let you fall. Here it is. Just it's
Oh,
barely to keep you on your feet, but you are on your feet. I didn't let you fall. So
dude, I get caught by that hand daily, you know, and
so you know what I'm talking about.
I've walked off so many
There
cliffs
are
right into that hand.
the dark forces are not the only ones with their hands in the algorithm.
No, no, right? The control that the dark forces have over this whole affair, I mean, even Christ was very, very plain. He said the evil one is in control of this place, right? This world right now, meaning these systems, right? Not the earth itself. Can't make the animals do something he wants, right? But is in control of the systems, i.e., the decisions, the free will of the people, right? That's being affected by whatever you want to call it. He said the evil one. You could call it the slavers or whatever.
Yeah.
Right now, that's what's in control of the system. Now, if I want to get that corrected, Ricardo, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What do you think?
Do you think that if we can look into an atom clearly with its neutrons and protons going around it as it
Okay.
is, do you think if we can get really close, we start seeing quasars and then galaxies and then star systems and then some planets inhabited? So all of this that we call infinite could just be an atom.
Well, it's finite. Yeah, whatever it is, it's finite for sure. But also, you're going to go back to
It's
the double. You got to go back to the double slits theory if you're going to talk to me about how far we can look. You're going to, the smallest form of matter. When we have proved, right, to our abilities that it does not take a form until it has an observer.
exactly,
Okay,
but the forest is still there when
is
there
it?
is no, yes.
Is it? How do you know?
Well,
Because
because
if it's
now
not observed, how is it in its form? How can you prove that to me if I've already proved that when I look at the smallest form of matter, it behaves as nothing, as two states, until I look at it, it picks one of them. So
yes, but
science
both are
tells me,
but both are the same. They're just in different places.
but why does it pick one as soon as I'm observed to make a something material that I can
Yeah,
observe?
well, the same way that when it's there are many papers about this. When a scientist is performing experiences, tests in
Experiments.
experiments, the intention of the tester has
Yeah.
influence on the result of the text,
Okay, but here's it.
the test,
They put
right?
cameras and instead of people eyeballs, and they found that when the cameras were on it,
It's the
the
guy that is
thing
behind the screen.
no, the same it did the same thing. You know what I mean?
Because of the guy that is behind the screen watching it.
Well, because
But
something was observing it. So
the thing
matter
is,
itself is conscious. It has to be.
if of course it is
Right.
everything animism, that's the first religion, the
Well,
first
that's what the
spiritual,
double slit seems to prove to me,
animism,
right?
right? Because to me, matter will be there, either is being watched or not, by the same reason that I said we don't belong here. It's not made for us. We are not a part that was
So you
intended.
don't think consciousness was an intended part of
No,
all
no.
of this?
Conscious is the goal. It's what
Well,
I
then
call
that's
the
us.
animus equilibrium. No, we were created aside of this plan. Again, everything falls within the plan of the Creator. Everything, even the deeds that are intended not to. So some way, some poetic way, we are meant to be here. Okay, in a poetic way, we are meant to be here, but we are created by someone trying to do something he shouldn't.
What does that mean?
It means that the universe or the multiverse or whatever is this creation was meant to be the natural world we see without man in its multiple different forms, either in Venus, in Mars, whatever, in its multiple different forms. It wasn't supposed to have a creature that can go terraform, transform, destroy at his own pleasure.
Really? So
Yes.
you don't think the game was designed to be played?
No, I think the
You
game
think there's a
it
game
is a
world that's not supposed to have players?
it has players, all the nature, all the trees,
You
all the
just said we're
fungus,
not.
all the
You just
birds.
said, "Oh, those aren't players, though. Those aren't us. Those aren't
No, those are the
consciousnesses that
players
are
of the
aware of
fields.
themselves. They're not. They're not us. That's not a
They,
player, dude. That's an NPC.
they are all the creator.
It's an
NPCs is a new term.
It is a creator. The creator can control the animals, right? But he gave us free will, bro. So we're the players. We have free will, and we're aware of us, right? Our soul. So either we're the exact same as the animals, and we're all NPCs, or we are meant to be here to play this game.
We are created by the beings that whose only function was to manage this life.
Okay, so you think we were created to be a slave race?
No, I think we were created to be a salvation that then become many other things through greed and warfare and many years,
But
many
you think
years.
we were manufactured by some other physical entity?
I think we were created, yes. That Everything indicates that.
Well, I mean, I know, but you're out. Now we're entering into territory not talking about a creator of a game. You're talking about you think something inside the game made us in the game.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not outside of the intentions of the creator, but it's not made as his creation.
Okay. So who made us? Where does that where are you on that? Who are these things then that made us?
Well, that's the people that I call the shepherds of galaxies. These are half godly creatures, half light, half with ability to manage, to record, to document,
Like
to
watchers.
maintain the animum equilibrium. That's what you call the consciousness. I call the animus equilibrium. There is this flow of consciousness going all about and returning to the source and coming back again, and allows this gigantic repository of every single experience in the whole multiverse to be harnessed in what people call the Akashic records. It's this huge that we are all connected somehow to, that sometimes we can access, sometimes we don't. If you are in the flow, anybody that is creates something knows this expression to be in the flow. It's your hands are writing and you are getting the story as you write it. The music is flowing and you are listening to the music as you create it, right? So it's a communion between the self and this animus equilibrium and this creator, this essence all around. It's two creators instead of one, but the both are one. So it's very complicated to describe. But
You're doing fine.
so and I think part of this story is exactly why we are having our Mars disclosure shows. This is exactly why we are having that show, because whatever came here and created us and violated the space of those that were here, their entrance destroyed Phaeton, the planet between Mars and Jupiter that is now the asteroid belt, and the destruction of that planet destroyed Mars.
Okay, why couldn't it have been us that came from Mars instead of a race that created us here? Why couldn't it have just been our lineage, slightly bigger because the gravity was different on
Anything is
Mars?
possible. Anything is possible.
Right. So it could just be that we migrated here from a nearby planet. That's why our
Yeah,
physiology seems quite like it doesn't quite fit here.
sure. The problem I have with that is I don't agree with anybody that thinks that creatures can come to our system by ship.
What about anti-gravity?
I think that a
Wormholes.
civilization that is sophisticated enough
Hey,
to
babe, I'm
think
still on
about,
the show. Keep going, Ricardo.
saying a civilization that is advanced enough to move from galaxy to galaxy or from system to system will not depend on something that runs on fuel. It will just beam themselves from one place to another by what we may call a portal, like the show Stargate,
Right.
right?
Oh,
Because
I
you
mean, I
go to
agree with you
Sitchin,
there.
and this ship's
The
roaring
gas, yeah.
fire,
Yeah,
and
gas ships,
do you think these people
combustion
are
engines.
coming here with something that is inflammable
No,
fuel? That just doesn't happen.
no.
It has to be something that contradicts and bans the laws of physics,
Yes.
whatever it is.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree with you there.
And that's why
Either
people
that
are now saying that they are
or it's based
multidimensional
here.
beings, because they can be outside of the
Yeah.
physical realm in order to travel from one point to another. You know that
Right.
if you manage to have the same exact frequency, determine where there is the exact same frequency on 2 points of space, and I'm meaning the frequency of matter itself, not sound, but the frequency of matter itself. There is no distance between those 2 points at all. There is no distance. Doesn't matter if they are in the other side of the universe. There is no distance. The same way that if you had two tuning forks and you bang one, the other one will start to ring on its own accord without
Yeah.
anybody touching it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that. It's a reality. You never seen that? So you put two A tuning forks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you ring one of them, the other one will start to ring by itself,
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. From the vibrations. Sure.
right?
I'm with you. I'm with
They
you.
call
Yeah.
it sympathetic vibration.
Sure.
It's that distance disappears between those two objects. They become the same. And it's a simplified version of what I'm trying to explain. If you have the exact two frequencies of two determined places in space, there is no distance.
Yeah.
And I think that would be something an advanced civilization would use. It's nothing that we can think of because we are limited by what we know.
Right.
We are limited by the imagination, and our imagination is based on what we think is possible.
Right. That's true. That's true. That's why the open mind is the way to go. And all of this, I agree that the human story is far more fantastic and interesting than we have been led to believe. And while your idea of the creation, as you put it, and how how vast it all is all well and good, but here's what this guy knows is none of that would have kept me alive and had me sitting here in front of you, right? My
That's the power of
experience.
belief, and it makes
Well,
it real. It makes it real. I'm
yeah,
not saying it's not real. Keep in mind, I'm not saying it's not real.
I understand. I'm just telling you that the broken dude that I was, that there was only one thing that could possibly have saved me and gotten me to where I am now. And yes, I know what you're gonna say. I did it. I know where you're going. But where I was, if I had not encountered the reality that within myself I have access to the individuated consciousness which seems to control this material reality that we call home, and I could in fact lean into that, be guided and directed in my daily decisions, then I would not be here. Now, I don't know how where that fits into your reality of, are the people that created talking to me telepathically and telling me
No,
where
because
Mavilla is?
that's
I don't
that's
know,
nothing.
but
That's
it's
nothing to do with the people that create you. That's to do with the global consciousness. There is
no,
the
there's
force
some
of the creator.
no, it doesn't see, but that doesn't fit with my experience because I'm telling you, right, that my experience, whatever you think of it, you don't have to believe it, right? But I'm just saying I can't square it with my experience because my experience has been quite clear, right, to me. I have experienced it, you haven't, so that's cool, right? But my experience is quite clear to me that at bare minimum, within us, we do indeed have access to an individuated consciousness that is not our own. And by individuated, I mean speaks to you and you can speak to it, right? Okay? And it knows things that only someone who was omniscient, as you say, and knew what comes before, what had gone after, and where everything was in this three-dimensional place. It doesn't make sense to me if it couldn't have happened if it wasn't that, right? If I didn't encounter an all-loving and all-knowing, I have to use the word creator because that's the only thing that matches my experience, then I wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't have Hernando's shit behind me, you know. And but more to the point, I wouldn't have been able to do what I did with drinking, with alcohol. That's where I encountered my first miracle, right? If you want to, use that term, was, you say a prayer, man, because as an alcoholic, that's the one thing that your free will, all your power, all your everything, you cannot stop. You can't stop it. And when you find yourself in those positions in life, in those most painful positions, right? Well, where I went to get help, they told me that, and I was looking at these people going, okay, they seem they have going on, and they told me that there's only one way, right? You got to do this, and you get to this step where you fall down and you say to God, you say, look, if you're listening, if you're there, I give up. I can't drive anymore. I keep fucking it all up. You got to take over, right? And then you sit your little hopeless ass there and you wait for something. and you say, please take from me this desire to drink, and that goes away. Well, now, if you were that alcoholic, then when that shit goes away, and it just goes away after you ask that thing outside of you to take it, then you have experienced a concrete reality outside of yourself responding to your true beseeching, right? Now, that was just my initial sort of walk
I
into it,
understand
right?
your point of view completely.
Now, if
You
that
might think
thing
not,
had
but I
if
understand.
that thing had not continued to be there every single day, as I went through multiplicity of trials, from family, ripped apart, to losing everything material I have in this world, to house fire twice, right? If I had not had that contact with that power that I only know to identify as God, because of what I saw also happen around me and outside of me. And, that's what Christ tells me. And when I use that formula, right, then I have no other experience to like put forth, right? And I can imagine and cannot see myself successfully living without that constant reality of an in the moment access to a power outside of the game, or at least, has access to it all, as you would use the word omniscient, right? But that's just on a personal level, like I don't identify with so much, Ricardo, as you know from me, with things that people label as faith, right, and all of that. What I had to have was a knowing. I was in that bad of a fucking spot. I had to have a knowing. And in a world that was so hell bent on telling me that thing I needed to know was bullshit and was make believe, um, that was just the only thing that was going to save me, was for me to have experiences where I knew that where I wasn't on some kind of, I don't know. That's why I don't identify with the word faith. I try to keep myself in a knowing. And when I get out of that knowing, that's when shit goes awry. And luckily, not luckily, but, just by design, I'm able to keep myself as much as possible in that knowing, right? But that has nothing to do with whatever everybody else in this game decides to try to do with the reports of those experiences, man, you know?
I think
And
that's part of the beauty of it, because you have that experience that
right,
gave you your belief.
right.
Another person might have a different experience.
Hey, more children. Love y'all. Oh, Kieran and Charlotte are finally here in person. Remember how they'd call us every time we'd try to
Yeah.
record? You come say hey. They're not. They won't do it. Yeah, yeah, I sure will. Got to get some hummus.
Uh, and the beauty of it is that the creator or God, or whatever it is that anybody wants to call it, even in your interpretation of it, it's the same. It's just like different ropes for different people, right?
Hmm.
And the people that are lucky enough to understand that they have a rope to grab on, right, and do, then they have all the reason to believe that his experience or her experience is absolutely real, but it doesn't make others' experiences less real.
Right. And Ricardo, I honestly, my beliefs and my understanding is, especially the biggest faith you can talk about is Christian, right? And I'd say I followed the roadmap of Christ, right? But you got to remember, dude, look, if you want to talk about the story and the things he said a lot of things to do, like, in advice, like live life this way. There's a lot of do. There was not a lot of do not, right? Okay, but he gave a do not, and he put a massive punctuation mark on the do not, right? He was very clear. And the phrasing of the do not was, anyone, and I'm paraphrasing, but we could read the verse. It's anyone that becomes a stumbling block on any of these path to God, right, is better that he should tie a anchor, the word was millstone, around his neck and jump to the deepest part of the ocean than for God to come get a hold of him. right? That is like the worst thing to do. And I think what you're echoing is precisely, what I believe to be true too. I think the instant any human being decides to try to up themselves as arbiters, right, for God and for God's will, then it's shit's going to go downhill quickly, right? And my reading of Christ, right, and what he said the same damn thing too, right? Look, that motherfucker wouldn't go in buildings, man, hardly. And when he did, it was to call people children of the devil, the thing that was in control of the world, i.e. the systems. He was calling them children of the systems, right? And he was trying to tell you that there's something outside of the system, right? There's something that's meant to be that this system is hiding you from, right? Yeah, And so wherever that came from, I don't ascribe with many modern systems, bro. And I think many systems, be they labeled Christian, be they labeled Muslim, be they labeled whatever, be they labeled of God, I think many of them, back to our lessons we can learn, are just like DeSoto, right? Just a raping, pillaging, murderous motherfucker that marched under the banner of God because he could let him do it. That's how he did it. If he didn't have that banner, he couldn't go do that.
It's the justification. It's the justification to do it.
And none of that has has anything to do with the reality of God as I've experienced it, and as I believe anybody who's ever experienced anything of worth from God, it does not gel with that.
Yeah,
that
because
behavior.
But that's because a message, real or not, the message that was valid had to be taken control of. Right? They couldn't allow people to have their own God, because basically that's what Christ was saying.
Or access to it. Yeah, I mean, Christ was saying that, but he was also saying that, look, just like me, you've got it in you.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
We are the same.
Right.
We are all divine. Right? We all have these powers. We all can transform water to wine. We all can manipulate the matrix, walk on water, calm storms.
Christ himself said,
heal the sick.
You'll do greater things than me.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
And they did, but to the worse. Mm-hmm. Right? Yep. And if you remember, even people that saw him do these miracles doubt him.
Yeah.
And that's the power of the lowering human consciousness to the point that we are just survivors on this harsh environment, that this dreadful planet.
Refugees in what should be our safe harbor, and that's by design of these bastards.
So who looked at that and thought, ooh, these people are really following this, so let's take a hold of it, and we can control the world by disbelief.
Yes. They left out whole books, whole chapters, and they even took out words, bro, sentences, whatever they needed to do to put out a system that would allow them to hold control and not get the truths that were trying to be imparted.
Because when you have a guy that sits down and washes the feet of a prostitute, you wouldn't put the Pope doing that. The Pope is drinking in goblets of gold and dressed.
He actually yesterday went and test drove the new EV Ferrari. He sure did. I saw his picture.
Did he?
He did.
Fantastic. But that is a good news, because when Ferrari launched that car, immediately lost 7% on the stocks. So it's 3.3 billion taken right off just because they created an EV. Which is great. Learn the lesson. Stop the goddamn EVs. Save the goddamn planet.
Dude, even an EV, you could do different than they did that. That was a gross-looking piece of something right there, man.
Well, they commissioned it outside of Ferrari, so Ferrari had nothing to do with it, and that's the problem. That was the problem.
I mean, it was pretty bad.
And this is an amazing show, because we went from DeSoto to God, and from God to Ferrari. So
we did. Oh, I don't know where we were going when we were on Ferrari, but we'll get there eventually.
But we have to have another conversation with the proper time about God and reality, because I think it's interesting.
Oh, I know we're gonna have many, bro. I know we're gonna have many, especially
you infidel.
Especially. I done told you the most important rule is to not get in the way, damn it. That means, that means there ain't none of that.
Look,
That's all
to
the
me, I
control,
can
dude.
put it all in one phrase. That is, whatever works.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever works. So if it works for you or for you or for you, keep doing it.
Well, Ricardo, you are moving through this world, man. In at least from what gets made notice to me and those around us, you're moving through with love. You're moving through with good intentions, right? You're moving through with wisdom. You are helping, all of us in this thing that's so important to me. Bringing the truth of our past to the present is the way you say it, right? And our the way I say it happened to be our best future requires the truth of our past, right? You are exhibiting all of these qualities that anyone in our friend group or anyone that's worked with you, can see, right? So what kind of friend would I be, Ricardo, to come along and go, you know what? Let me fuck with that. Right? What kind of like seriously, what kind of friend would I be to go, that shit's going pretty good. Look at him spreading light and truth and working on proper motivations and just doing more than the vast majority of people when it comes to personal motivations. So you got to ask yourself, what kind of dude comes along and says, I think I should go in there and fuck with it. I know a better way, right? That's DeSoto. That's that's the whole idea of what we're studying about here, is a system coming in and just assuming something about another system.
Yeah, but then you had the wrong government.
That's perfect. Jack, Sarah says, instead of telling people to get fucked, I ask myself, what would Ricardo do? He's so sweet. He's so gentle. Listen, when people deserve to, there's been times when behind the scenes shit y'all don't see. And I'm like, man, we gotta do something. We gotta slap this. We can't take this. And Ricardo's like, and pins out some formal, nice, sweet letter that even the president would be like, God damn, who wrote this? It's true though. You have the temperament. It's like in you to bend, that way. It's just in you, And what sort of system would grab hold of that and go, I'm gonna do something better with it?
The effort to do good is proportional to the darkness within. So so because of the darkness, I said, go the extra mile, go the extra mile.
That's why we got to get you singing again, man. Help eradicate any of the remaining darkness.
Well, darkness is important. I think darkness is very important. Let's put it in light terms, like the dark side and the light side of the force.
Right.
By not knowing the dark side, led the Jedi down, because they didn't knew the dark side. The only Jedi that worked on both.
Right now, you have answered your own question about why something would be allowed.
Yes.
Think about it. And on that note, why must we all know the dark side? Because we damn sure seem to be under its control at the moment on the world systems. So, right, we baptize him with that. She says that he does seem to understand just with his own language for everything. And the rest we're going to battle by getting his soul to sing again soon and try to eradicate any lingering pain or darkness, because damn it, man, there's enough of it in the world. We got to try to strive every day to get it out of ourselves. At least that's the way I try to do. And that's why I have the saying, think long, think wrong. I don't want to give it time to settle in on my ass now that I'm out of it. Just keep going.
This wise words there is. Lots of people that deserve life die, and lots of people that deserve death live. Can you give it to them? You can't, but we can at least try not to kill anybody and to bring people.
Some people like to go to
life.
horror movies.
Yeah.
Some people like to be scared. I don't know. There's a reason for every lifetime, maybe. The lessons for each. And some people like to sign up for roller coasters, and some like to sign up for floats through lazy rivers. I don't know. We'll crack it eventually, Ricardo. We've got a lot of I bet we'll have probably solved the world's problems by the time we actually read this
Yeah.
thing. If we keep up this this pace, read for an hour, take the lessons, and for an hour and a half.
We're gonna change, instead of Institute for Natural Philosophy, will be the Church for Natural Philosophy. Join us,
No,
brother.
no. Sorry, man. Like I told you, I'm a follower of Christ, and I can't find a place where he wanted to put up a building. That just wasn't in there. He pretty much liked to stay out of them, So you won't see me erecting a building, that's for sure. I like. I'm not saying the word institute's better because in my mind that reminds me of like where they send all the mentally insane people, which actually is probably more accurate for us.
For
so
us, yes. Yes.
we are
all
the asylum
institutionalized.
for.
We are all institutionalized.
We're going to institutionalize ourselves in our own little community for the crazies.
Yeah. Wait until our director of operations show you the floor plans. Then you'll see the building.
For what building?
For our building.
The one, I mean, from scratch building?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna see the floor plans. He's all excited. I'm gonna see it next week.
Nice. See, guys, we are all of one accord, and we do all realize what's important. And
But
we
there's
are
no
all
church or
aiming-
chapel inside of it. No.
There better be a couple of probably not, but there will, however, be some mounds that I build out back, and probably some circles of trees for a fire ring where one can go and attune oneself with the reality of God, i.e., whatever Ricardo wants to call it. We will not be doing that work inside the buildings. That's for taking care of the academics and some of the stuff we have to display, and the fine people that would come to have bookshops and tea shops and show their wares and create the things that a community needs. But no, the spiritual side of things will be handled outside.
Yeah.
We'll be out in the woods, way away. Just
And-
you have to really want to find us.
But that's the reason why I agree with your, and the term is spirituality, because you are not defending a religion, you are defending an experience, right? And that experience is personal and can't be denied.
Right.
So, because you're not trying to sell me anything.
No.
You're not, and I mean selling, you're not trying to convert anybody to this or that God that has this or that commandments or this or that
Ricardo,
rules.
The guy who wrote the map that hung on one of these that I followed, I just told you, was very explicit about that. And that's why these people that call themselves by that name and are in all these buildings confuse the hell out of me, man. Because it was very explicit that I should not be doing any of that at any time, nor should anybody be doing it to me,
Let alone take ships and land in some foreign place and say, "Convert to our God or die,
Right.
you
You
heathens!"
heathen, butt flapping, wearing,
But flapping full of highways and lords and food and gigantic buildings and art and culture and history and philosophy and astronomy. You ignorant creatures.
We just want freedom from the systems that are in place, damn it, that are keeping us enslaved to pursue our own contact.
Look
with
at
the
these guys
realities of
living
this
like
place.
they're in hidden. Yeah, they're still in hidden. We are here suffering, famish, wars, and these guys are like in the Garden of Eden. Let's destroy it.
Oh, they're creating it. I mean, come on, free energy, dude. I mean, that's the thing, is how this place could be versus how it currently is. All right, my children are beckoning, and we have philosophized our audience half to death. And I would like to thank you very much, my partner. I'm hungry. I hear you. I'm coming. I'm ending it now. But yeah, with that, guys, thank you very much, Ricardo. I needed to get an episode out for everybody, and thank you for being you, dude, and coming here and doing this with me. And everybody, you will see us back on this and the Shaman and the Philosopher, continuing this project we've put out to do. See what we can learn.
And thank you for inviting me. It was an honor to be your first outside guest.
You're my first guest. You're my first guest. Probably going to be a repeating guest and probably the only one for us. Look, say what you want. I think we get a lot out of this, right? We get a lot out of this, and I hope we're showing people that having conversations with people who you think you might at first be in sort of disagreement with on some important issues, it's really a beautiful thing if you sit and talk and make friends with those people instead.
Oh,
Because
we can
because
only
you
learn
both
with, well, it's not only, but we learn much more with those we disagree with than to
you
just speak with those that agree with us. Oh,
completely.
yes, yes, yes. You
Completely.
got nothing out of it. So
Completely. I mean,
it's
Ricardo, bro, look, you were very honest with me about the way you see the world, and I was very honest with you about the way I see the world in our very first 4 hour conversation on the damn speakerphone, right? And so anybody knows that has seen us team up since then that, I knew quite well and you knew quite well where the other was on certain whatever matters. We knew full well, too, that that's where value is and that's where growth is. And that's why we're partners. I think it's part of what keeps it, what it's supposed to be, dude. It's just like DNA, man. What happens when you get the same DNA together? Shit gets fucked up and mutated. You need variety for this whole thing we're talking about, this human project. The evolution of both ourselves in this place, but our souls. You got to have this. And thank you for it. Love you. I got to go feed
it's.
kids. What? Say it. Say it.
I just want to say that you have that guy honking and
I
making
do.
threats and getting out of the car, and right, and when he gets to you, you pass him the riff, and the guy, what? Tuck it up, and the guy. So what are you going to say to me? Forget it, dude. I thought it mattered.
Right, exactly. Exactly. That's exactly it. Fucking secret of life right there, y'all. Keep what matters in perspective.
We always should try to start the podcast with Bill Hicks, with his,
With this, it's only a ride. Yep.
with his, yeah.
Yep. I totally agree. Totally agree. Love Bill Hicks. We're her second favorite duo, and our favorite duo is Jacqueline and Sarah over at Universe Unveiled. Go give them a like and
Absolutely.
subscribe. Help them get past their record. They just said of 300 subscribers, go to 400. Look for Ricardo and I on the Shaman and the Philosopher, our page. Look for the Roundtable tomorrow night on
Tomorrow.
the Institute for Natural Philosophy homepage. And I'll be back to see you here on my stuff sometime. Who knows? I just like to pop in like a ghost and scare you and run away. So I'm gonna keep doing that. I'll see you soon, and I love you all. I gotta go feed babies.
Bye bye. Thank you.
See ya. Stop.